We need to study history. That is why this is a class of history, politics, and power. We need to study history. We need to read history. Let's read from a book. Aburi, how did Ojukwu do it? I have a book here entitled You Must Set Forth at Dawn. Memoirs, powerful and arresting, should be required reading everywhere. You Must Set Forth at Dawn is Wole Soyinka's autobiography. You see it? But this is the old edition. I think I bought this about, when did I buy this book? Before we established Udara Book. It should be about 12 years ago, I remember. That's when I bought this book. But this is now what the book looks like. This is what you'll find on udarabooks.com. This is what you will find on udarabooks.com. Okay? I'll come back to this. So because this is the one I've been reading, so I like reading it. I don't read the new one. You know, though the pages might be different, there were some adjustment. So I want to read from page 125. Soyinka said here, there was a marked difference of approach for the Aburi encounter, one that already signaled the certain repudiation of whatever agreements were made. Soyinka continued. The federal side, led by Yakubu Gowon, attended the meeting with an open book. A laissez-faire state of mind. By contrast, Odumegwu Ojukwu, still governor of the eastern region and de facto leader of the Igbo, had arrived meticulously prepared. Not surprisingly, he largely had his way. The protocols and agreements were signed to fanfare and popped champagnes, and they all returned home with the map of the nation superficially intact but visibly shredded. That is Wole Soyinka's description. And this is one book I think you should have. You Must Set Forth at Dawn. You know, someday I'm going to discuss Wole Soyinka's role in the war. You know, Soyinka appointed himself as a diplomat, trying to bring peace between both sides. You know, he was traveling to Eastern region, meeting Ojukwu and others, trying to negotiate peace. So when he came back to Nigeria at some point, Goan arrested him and jailed him. He was in prison throughout the war. And when he wrote, and the man died in prison. Oh, I didn't come with that book. And the man died. If you read those books, You Must Set Forth at Dawn and the Man Died, you have another perspective of the Civil War. I see some persons who don't want to read certain persons. Oh, because I don't like him, I won't read him. No. I read everybody. I want to understand their perspectives. I read Obasanjo's perspective of the war. I like Soyinka's perspective of the war. So if you get this book, you will see Soyinka's perspective. So this is what you will find on udarabooks.com. You Must Set Forth at Dawn. Soyinka's autobiography. Well written. Lovely. Get your copy on udarabooks.com. Or you can contact us through the WhatsApp numbers. Our WhatsApp numbers. And you can get your copy. You Must Set Forth at Dawn. Memoirs. If the spirit of African democracy has a voice and a face, they belong to Wole Soyinka. You Must Set Forth at Dawn. Lovely book. I will read it again, and again. In this book, look at this one. Yes, by Mark Sulin. Oil, Politics and Violence. Sadly, we don't have this book. We don't have it anymore. But it's a classic Oil politics and violence, Nigeria's military coup culture. We don't have it again on Udara books. Wow. Nigeria's military coup culture 1966 to 1976. Then he did a follow-up, Soldiers of Fortune. You'll find that on udarabooks.com. Now, in this book, here is what Max Yolun said. He said, why the federal delegation behaved as if the Aburi conference was a social gathering to reunite former friends who had fallen out in a social tiff. Ojukwu saw the conference for what it really was, a historic constitutional debate that would determine Nigeria's future social and political structure. That is how Max Yolun explained Aburi. Now let's go back to Ojukwu Gowon, what they said after the conference. Let's listen.
The purpose of this press conference is to enlighten the public on the last Accra meeting of military leaders and to tell the nation where we go from here. Our main concern at the Aburi meeting was how to keep the country together and restore normal conditions. We reviewed the situation in the Nigerian army, and we all agreed that there should be one Nigerian army under a unified command as at present. We recognize that in the context of the events of 1966, the most practical way of achieving this aim is to organize the army into area commands. We did not go to Aburi to write a new constitution for Nigeria. The constitution of Nigeria will be written in Nigeria by Nigerians on the authority of the people of Nigeria. We, however, agreed to return to the status quo ante January 17, 1966. And this is in keeping with my earlier public pronouncement that decrees or parts of decrees which tended towards over-centralization should be repealed. We will continue to operate the existing federal constitution and the federal system of government until a new constitution is drawn up. In Aburi, we made an excellent start in the bid for permanent peace, but let us not deceive ourselves that it was possible to solve all Nigeria's problems in the two-day meeting of minds of Nigeria's military leaders. I did say immediately after that conference that Nigeria will definitely remain united. I would never have said so if we went there to fall apart. Nigeria will remain one indivisible country by the will of the people of this country.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
At Aburi, yes, we agreed on area commands for the armed forces. At Aburi, we agreed that the police force will be decentralized. We agreed on those. Yes. We agreed even to show that we didn't separate. At Aburi, we also agreed on certain revenue formula. That's what happened at Aburi. Aburi again, because I always end up, it sounds odd today, but I always end up by saying I must have been naive, because I believed actually that would be the end. I'll confess to you, when I got back to Enugu, oh yes, I had a party, believing that probably the danger was over. That's what we thought. Until they then began to deny everything. It was the denial of Nigeria that made me publish the tapes of Aburi, because we had insisted that each one should have a set of tapes. Everybody talks about confederation. Go and look at the transcript. There is no time that the word confederation came from my lips.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
When we came back, and Ojukwu did not go to make the statement he made first, virtually giving the impression that we've agreed for a confederation to move apart, etc., which was really not in exactly that. If I had had the opportunity to make my broadcast in a first, because that was the agreement, not for him to make the broadcast first, then if I had committed myself to what he said, then there wouldn't have been any problem. But he went and said certain things that certainly looked wrong, and therefore we saw in practically everything he did, I think it was for to play up to the gallery, not being sincere.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
The tapes are available. The records are there. In fact, only about 2 weeks ago, I saw a set of the records again. The transcripts are available. But we talked about the Nigerian situation. And certainly, at the end, everybody says, oh, you told them this, you did that. The fact was that our case was so clear that I actually believe at the end of Aburi that the problem was not Gowon, but probably some ambassadors in Lagos who were pressing for something else. Because we understood each other. We agreed on every single point. The drafting was, in fact, my chief secretary with 2 other chief secretaries from the other side. They said, no. And drafted and agreed. We looked at it, we agreed. General Ankara read over the whole report again to us at the end. Asked us if we wanted to amend anything. No. At the end of all that, the position was so good that actually Ankara drove Jack, Goan, and myself to the airport. Jack was sitting on his left, I was sitting on his right. He was in the middle. And in the course of that journey, at a point, General Ankara shook his head and said, oh, thank you. Thank you. If only we can go on like this, everything would be all right. I believe I was the one. As I do now from time to time, I go for the dramatic. Suddenly I picked up Gowon's hand, put it on Ankara's lap, brought my other hand, placed it on it, and I said, General, sir, hold us together, I want to say something. So General Ankara put his hand on top of the 2 hands, and I said, General, I want to assure you that I am totally satisfied with everything we said. I will even go further and say to you something I did not say at the conference, and that is that once we have implemented everything we have said, I would ask you for one favor and one favor only. And that would be to be the one to propose Jack Gowon as a head of state of Nigeria.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
Yes, you heard Yakubu Gowon, you heard Ojukwu, both men giving their sides of the story.